Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast. You're with me, Alex, and the main man, Mr. Pooh. And on this week's Property Education Masterclass, we are joined by the one and only Heidi Louise. Now, Heidi is the real deal. She is a serial entrepreneur. She has completed countless property projects, and I personally find her truly inspiring, and I think you're going to as well. So stay tuned as we discuss all of the details of her property journey up to today, and more importantly, all of the massive plans she's got in front of her moving into 2024. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. Here we go. This is the only podcast you need to follow in order to grow and develop your own systemized and profitable Airbnb business. And this week we are here with the fabulous Heidi Louise. Heidi Louise is a full-time property investor. She's doing all kinds of really cool strategies, including serviced accommodation. So welcome to the show, Heidi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Heidi, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you based? We see a lot of you on social media. You're pretty famous on the old Facebook and the Instagrams. Tell us about you. Where you're from? What are you into?
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. So I'm Heidi. I've just left my job. My last day is tomorrow. So I've worked in the prison sector for 14 years, and I'm going into full-time property. So I spent 2 years building up a business around HMOs, and then serviced accommodation was my second strategy. I do deal packaging. I've got a podcast as well. And I run one of the progressive networking events. I'm based near Hull. I'm not in Hull. I'm in Lincolnshire, which is better, but no one's heard of it. So I say Hull. So I'm based literally on the Humber Bridge pretty much. Yeah. So, so I cover Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. So do a little bit of everything. I'm also now trying to buy a block of flats, raising finance for investment. So, I like to do loads of stuff. Wow. I love stress. Bring the stress on. And I run it on an hour a day. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I can almost hear the people listening thinking, is this Heidi or is this Superwoman?
No, just a lot of coffee. People go, how do you do it? I'm like, it's a lot of coffee.
So where did it start for you, Heidi? It's where's the starting point for property? I mean, how did that come about? And
So I've got an official answer and then a real answer. So my official answer is I started my limited company 2 years ago. So started the limited company. Prior to that, I've been a landlord for 5 years in my personal name, but I've been working in the housing sector for 14 years, mostly as a expert in homelessness. Unconventionally, I feel like I'm Kevin McDonnell. I should have been. I used to run rent-to-rent HMOs about 13 years ago. Right. But I didn't realise what I was doing, didn't have any training, and I did it all wrong with the wrong paperwork. So I kind of started in property loosely and by accident about 13 years ago. Then I bought my first property, lived in it. That became a buy-to-let. But genuinely, I bought that property with the intention of it being an Airbnb. So I've had that property 10 years. So officially 2 years, but technically I've been dabbling in it unofficially for about a decade, really.
Wow. Yeah.
So what gave you this? It sounds like you always had this interest, this desire to kind of get into property. You knew it was a really valuable thing, to have these assets and this, this income. So where did that come from? Was parents in property or siblings or? No. Just
So my brother and sister earned a lot of money and never spent it on anything sensible. And I was skin student living in a HMO, and I calculated what my landlord was getting, and I was like, hang on a minute, she must be loaded. So I was like, this is quite easy. So I lived in a HMO, calculated what they was getting, and I started unofficially managing it for them.
Right.
So then I said, look, I'm going to leave. I want my own place. I don't live in a HMO. And they went, oh, no, please don't leave. Stay in it with your partner who lived there also, and you can have it market rate buy to let. So I was like, cool. So I paid £550 a month, and she still let me sublet the bedrooms. So I stayed there, and I got the income from the HMO and bought my first property with it and stayed in the HMO. So I've always kind of gone, hang on a minute. I could make quite a lot of money doing something that's quite, I'm going to say easy. It's not easy, obviously, but at the time, I didn't realise about risk, contracts, rents, legislation, nothing like that, because back then HMOs weren't heavily regulated like they are now, and the same with SAs,
Yeah.
not very regulated. So back then it was quite easy. So I've thought I could do this properly.
Cool. I think that's quite an inspiring story, because I think with property, you know, there's a lot of people sitting at home listening to this thinking, I'd love to get involved, but, you know,
Yep.
I haven't got the money, or I don't have the knowledge, right? And you're living proof that you just kind of, you know, you dug in, you learned a little bit, you was entrepreneurial, you saw a gap and you went for it, and, you know, you kind of developed from there.
Yeah, I think one thing people, because I do mentoring and coaching as well. I forgot about that in my intro. But one thing people forget that you can't teach is your tenacity and your consistency. Yes, you can go on training courses. Yes, you can pay someone to kick you up the arse. But if you're not going to do your actions, you ain't going to be successful. And it's battling through on the days that are shit. Sorry if I'm swearing on your podcast.
No, that's
I'm
all
well
right.
known for that.
We want to keep it real. We want to keep it real. So it's
Yes,
good.
I swear. Follow me, I swear all the time. I've got a swear wordy cup next to me. So the one thing you can't teach is just grafting when times are hard.
Yeah.
And that's what property is, and businesses really, I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right about the courses. How many people just hemorrhage money on courses and then walk out and just go back to their job, don't take action, because it's all just a little bit
ridiculous,
too
isn't it?
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But isn't that because, like, you know, we get hyped up during the course, and it just that, you know, that kind of feeling that kind of lasts for, I don't know, maybe 3 days, 4 days, and then when the reality kicks back in, that's when you're like, it's hard, it's too hard. I'm you know, so easy to go back to the jobs and just sit back.
Because in the course you're getting sold all the rainbows and butterflies. You know, you don't really get told the reality of it really until you get out and start trying to implement this stuff.
Well, they don't teach you that bit, do they? So I do teach that when I mentor people. But have you guys done a property SA training course?
Yes, we have. Yep.
See, I haven't. Controversial. So I haven't. So I did a creative nobody down course and thought, right, I need to learn this. This is all I'm doing, and then I'll do the mastermind. I've never done an SA, so I paid for someone originally to manage my SA for me, and I was like, I think they're doing this wrong, you know. So I got my husband to set up some new ones on the slide on this program we had. He learned it all, and I was like, this is quite straightforward. But I've never done an SA training course because I still don't think they teach you enough of the detail to actually run one. I think you've got to do a bit of trial and error on it.
Yes, 100%. So you gotta have to dip your toes into it. It can be all sweet and roses on the spreadsheets, all the numbers, you know. But when I think when you put it out there, then it's what you do when times are hard.
Yeah. Every day.
You can't learn it. You can't learn it. You can't learn it all in the classroom. It's impossible, you know. And it's like what people say, right? It's so true that you learn when you're failing, when you're making mistakes, when shit's going wrong. That's when you learn the real lessons. And you can't teach that. It's just part of getting involved.
Couple of things go wrong every day for me as well, and not wrong because I always think it's a learning curve, but I've had something go different every day and I think, oh, for God's sake, I didn't know about this, or nobody talks about this, or you only see the bookings on social media. Oh, I've earned 80 grand a week on this booking, and you think, oh, shut up, no you haven't.
No, exactly.
But they don't tell you that the previous guest has just absolutely annihilated the place and left it an absolute mess. They don't talk about that bit. So yeah, property training in SA is a interesting beast.
Yeah, and I think social media just in general is a bit of a double-edged sword, right? It's powerful, it's great for the business, it's good to kind of promote yourself, but also we find ourselves always comparing and reading all of the success stories that have been fluffed up, and then you just beat yourself up because you're not doing as well. But most of it's bullshit.
It is, and been in the north as well. Where are you guys based? Where's your portfolio?
Down in the south, London based, Essex.
So in the north, like I've almost got 100% occupancy rate across my whole portfolio, but the nightly rate is crap compared to like some of my nightly rates are 60 quid, and everyone's like, oh my God.
Is that for like a house or is it for apartments?
No, it's just a 4-bed house. Some of them are 60
4-bed
quid.
house.
Yeah,
60 quid a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can range between 60 quid to 120 quid, depending on the night, the demand, the demographic.
Yeah.
But mine are in Grimsby, Hull, horrible places. I mean, investing there, they're great. I mean that honestly. So, yeah, places where they're in some of the worst areas of Grimsby as well. So, like beautiful houses in terrible areas, but we aim it at contractors for long-term bookings. So when people go on social media, oh, I've got an 80 grand booking for like a year, and I'm like, what the hell? And then when you break it down, their mortgage is a lot higher or their rents are a lot higher, and our mortgage is 400 quid.
Exactly.
So actually, it does stack better, but the nightly rates are a lot cheaper. So yeah, it depends where people are based as well.
Yes, 100%. Yep. I mean, that's the thing when, people kind of list it out, say, I've got this much booking, this much value for the inquiries, but they don't tell you what is the net profit in that case. And
I always call them out.
It's the net profits that that's the real deal. So,
and a lot of the time that booking hasn't even been paid. It might be a booking that's been made for 3 months' time, and it's like, don't celebrate yet. It could very easily get cancelled.
Well, I had one yesterday. I always get excited. I need to like rein myself in, but a booking actually, because I'm like, where are these people getting these really long bloody bookings from? And I've had a couple where people have gone, right, I need a 9-month booking. And then I've had them in for 3 weeks and they've gone, actually, don't want to be here. I want to be closer to site, or I don't like the house, or I want to change, or whatever. So they don't actually stay for 9 months. And then I had one come through yesterday for 10 grand and I almost fell off my chair. And I was like, oh my God, 10 grand. And it was an inquiry. And I could have screenshotted that and put it on social media and annoyed everybody. But actually it was an inquiry. And when you delve down into the payment, they said, actually, we want to pay you £400 for the rest of the month. And then we want to pay you £1,800 for every month consecutive. And I was like, you can piss off. Not accepting that. I've got bills to pay.
Sure.
And then they said, can we have it for November and we'll pay you at the end of November? And I went, no. You pay up front, you idiots. And I was like, I'm not accepting that. So actually, I could have screenshotted that and gone, oh, I've got a 10 grand booking. But actually, I've not accepted it because they didn't want to pay me straight away. And I'm like, who would accept this? No.
I mean, I had an inquiry that came to me and they said, we would like to book with you for a year. And I said, really? A year? I rarely get 2 weeks, so
I'll take
a
it.
year. And then, so that's how, like, you kind of trying to find out more details and said, okay, for a year, how are you going to pay it all up front? And said, of course not. They're going to make term payments. And if they do pay a few more in advance, then it's not your money still until it's passed, until the booking's passed. So
yeah, that's another issue as well, where you can get a direct booking and people will pay you direct. And I've now got around the whole, I used to use Stripe, they take fees. Now if I can get them to do a bank transfer, I'm like, yes. I can bank transfer you. But the thing is as well, with like booking.com, they'll pay you 10 days after the stay.
Yeah.
Or people want to pay you in monthly increments. It's just a bit like, people who get these bookings, I'm like, okay.
You have to be careful as well. I mean, one of the things that I find useful from all these online, travel agencies, a lot of courses would say, don't go with their payments plan. Don't let booking.com take the payments on your behalf because you're paying a bit, out for them. But in fact, it's a lot cheaper. If you think about your headspace, if you have to chase for the payments, it's a lot of time wasted in that case. So if you pay them, 1.5%, 2% for that time, I think it's worth it. It just
time's really valuable for me. Like people go, how do you do it? And like I've been working 4 days a week for 2 years while I'm doing my business, and I've got 2 young kids.
Wow.
And I've got like all these different elements of the business, and I'm trying to keep myself alive and that sort of thing as well. And my business could be so much stronger and better, but at the minute I'm happy with the income. So like I run all mine on Guesty, and I paid a bit of money for Guesty, but it was worth every penny. And I've got friends that have more units than me, but have to mess about with speaking to the cleaners all the time and sorting their own linens out and getting like buying their own washing up liquid and that sort of thing. So I was like, right, I'm paying for Guesty. and then I pay for Price Labs. I don't know if you use this. It's have you guys got that?
Yeah, the pricing
Price,
software.
so like Price Labs as well, if anyone doesn't know, I've got Guesty as a channel manager, and then I've got Price Labs on top of that, which change the nightly rates incrementally depending on demand, area, usage, that sort of thing. And then we've linked Guesty with the cleaners. So they now will see when the cleans are needed, they'll tick it off, and then within that they've got a checklist they have to follow. And part of the checklist includes all of the new fire eggs, all of the checkpoints they've got to look at, and then it checks things like, is the washing up liquid, blah blah blah, and then they will go to the shops and buy it, and then they'll invoice me once a week. So actually, to run my SAs, it's once a week. So I'm happy with Booking.com taking their bit and the cleaners and everything, because I'm still getting an income and I don't have to do anything. So you've got to look at how much time, effort, is involved. And I don't want to speak to. I did speak to cleaners every day. It was the bane of my life. And linens and towels. I just buy 1 million towels per house now because it's easier to do that than try when there isn't any.
What is your how do you attack the whole linen thing? Because, you know, there's so many kind of different ways of looking at it. You know, if you're using commercial linen companies, they're expensive, but, you know, you're not having to pay out for all the linen at the front end. Plus, you're not having to replace it after 18 months. You know, so what do you rent? Do you buy? What's your kind of go-to?
I do the opposite of everyone else. And I'll go,
you don't use any sheets.
No, there's no sheets in my places. And then when they arrive, I go, oh, sorry about that. We'll drop some off.
Bring your own.
That'd be a lot easier. I might change my business plan. I buy bedding from Asda or Tesco or Boys, if you have a Boys, for £6 a sheet or whatever. And I will go and buy 3 sets of that per bed. Sometimes more or less. I've dabbled with 1 nightly bookings, 2 nightly bookings, 3 nightly bookings, 7 nightly bookings. And between 3 and 4 bed sets per bed is where it's at. And again, 3 towels. And then I trust the cleaners. My cleaners as well clean the houses and do the linens. So I pay £5 a bed set. So when they go in and take the linens off, they'll take them home, they'll wash it, they'll put it back.
So is your cleaning company, is it like a private one, or is it a massive companies, or?
Do you know what? No, everyone listening to this will think, who the bloody hell is this idiot you've got in this podcast? In Hull, it's my friend's auntie.
Okay.
And she's a lady that only works for me. And she's really flexible and she's lovely and she'll go above and beyond. She'll even do the gardens for me, and she'll go, it's a bit weedy there, I've took the gardens out, and I've bought some chocolates this time. I'll just let her have empowerment to do what she needs to do. And then I've replicated that in Lincoln and I've replicated that in Grimsby as well. So I've got 1 or 2 ladies in the area that will do all of the laundry, all of the cleaning and all of the buying for me as well. And they have a checklist. It's not perfect because every month we tweak it. Like the fire eggs need tweaking now, they need training. And then I've kind of gone, what if you need anything, buy it. If you want a certain product, you buy it, I'll pay for it. And then I've given that trust. So they'll go, right, I've bought you some new towels because there were stains, some fabric conditioner, dishwasher tablets, 1 glass broke, you owe me, blah, blah. And then I pay each cleaner, I go, how much do you want paying an hour? Some get paid £11, some get paid £15, depending on where they live. And that's it. Mine's really simple, and it's.
And do you have like anyone like as a backup just in case, like if they are sick or if they are?
So they'll either give us a backup if they go on holiday. They'll go, my friend will do it, or my sister will do it, or whatever. Worst case scenario, I'll go and muck in. And I don't like doing it, and I haven't done it regularly, but it teaches me a lot. It teaches me that they graft their asses off, and we should appreciate them a lot more than we probably do. I can just keep an eye on the property. I've learnt a lot. I ironed the bedding once, burnt myself twice, got blisters, and thought, I'll never buy that bedding again. I'll buy non-ironed bedding, and I do now. So I'm the ultimate backup.
I had the exact same experience one day. It was in the summer. It was burning hot, and for some reason, I ended up having to go over and do the beds. and in a 5-bedroom house. And man, at the end of it, I wanted to call up our cleaners and say, I'm doubling your pay immediately, because that was the worst day of my life. They work hard.
Yeah.
They do work hard.
Underappreciated.
Yeah, and I wrote a checklist out for the cleaners, wrote it, and I thought, am I taking the piss? Like the stuff that we asked them to do, like do the skirting boards and the attention to detail that you have to do on these cleans. But I look after them. Like if they need anything, get what you want. I pay some of them petrol, depending on the agreement we've got, and where they live. And then, I send them like the 5-star reviews, because sometimes you've got to go back to your cleaner and go, look, that guest was pissed off.
Yeah.
And I always get them to evidence the cleans and go, just take before and after pictures. I don't need them, but we'll trust you. So if you think something's wrong, like we had a real bad one this week where trashed the house, stained all the towels, broke the door handles off, didn't pay the late checkout fee, loads of problems. And anyway, we've raised it with booking.com. And she sent us a video. And there was one time last week where there was pissed off, the house was disgusting, how dare it not be cleaned? And it was a load of rubbish because they take before and after pictures. And I said, look, I'm really sorry, we've got to evidence X, Y, and Z. And she was like, I'm not quitting now, I'm not having this is a load of shit. I went, no, I'm not been horrible to you, don't take it personally. Some guests are just arseholes.
Yeah.
And they are.
Exactly.
They are.
And we won on booking.com and we got everything evidenced. And then this week I went, I thought you'd like to see a 5-star review. You're doing a cracking job. Thank you very much. Sent her a couple of love hearts, kisses, etc. And then it's coming up Christmas. We'll get them some nice stuff, because they're worth the weight in gold, to be honest with you.
Yes.
They run the business, not me.
Yep. I think the cleaning team is pretty much a heart of the operations. Because they are the one that, meant to give the wow factor when people walked in. So you have to look after them well. So 100%. So, yep.
So Heidi, this this podcast is mostly, it's about bringing people on here who have kind of created a lifestyle for themselves through Airbnb. And would it be right to say that you've dramatically increased your lifestyle, right? You're now out your job. You're you're doing well. You're making money. You got all these properties. So was that kind of the aim? Was that the kind of idea when you got into this? Was to get out of your day job and have more free time, more money in your pocket, spend with family, friends, doing what you want to do? Was that kind of in your head at the beginning, or did it just kind of happen?
No, definitely. I'm as much as I come across really unprofessional, I always have a really good strategic plan. So I give myself a target of replace my income before my youngest goes to school. So replace my salary, leave my job before my youngest goes to school. And I think I had 3 years to do that. And I was like, right, okay, I'll do rent to rent. I don't have any money. I can't buy property. I've tried to buy property for the last 10 years. Can't save. So I chose rent to rent for cash flow. So I like cash flow. And
was that rent to rent? Was that rent to rent for SA or rent to rent HMO?
No,
what was the?
I didn't want to do SA. So I did. So you'll love this. So I did rent to HMO because I love HMOs. I've lived in HMOs. I understand the homeless population. I wanted to give back. So I was like, rent to HMOs. Perfected that. The only reason I got into SA is because the only house I owned was in my personal name, and obviously Section 24 capital allowances came in, and we was like, oh, for God's sake, we weren't making any profit on it. My tenant was an idiot, showed us 3 months rent, trashed the house. I used to work with her as well. If she's listening, still lend me some money, let me know. And I was like, I've owned this property 5 years and actually I'm in a deficit because of the boiler going, rent arrears, etc. So we turned that house into an SA, and I was like, okay, this will de-risk the portfolio. So I started then getting offered deals where it was like a 3-bedroom terrace house, or, oh, you seem to know what you're doing. Do you want a JV with me on this? And then we had a gap in the market where people said, there's no SA manager around here. And I was like, well, I'll do it then. So then I started doing SAs, got more SAs than HMOs, which baffled me because I didn't really like SA at the time. And honestly, if you asked me to pick, I'd pick HMO any day. But it de-risked it. So I, again, own a SA, have profit shares, rent to rents and management, and
Yep.
it's de-risked the portfolio. So if anything goes wrong with the HMOs,
Yep.
I've
Then
got
you got some
SA, then I've got
backups,
deal
yeah.
packaging. So I've got about 6 streams of income where if one goes wrong, it's fine. So SA, it's a nice. So SA, you can sort of, you can and you can't guarantee what's coming in. So yes, if you're 100% occupied, your nightly rates might be different. So you can sort of incrementally see some income coming in. So the way I did it for myself was I've replaced my income with HMOs, SA's fund money, but it's not, because it's going to be investment money. So that's the way I've done it. So yeah, my next plan is to take on what I've been offered now and stop. I don't want a rent to rent business forever. It's classed as a noisy grafter sort of business, and although I've automated it as much as possible and I barely spend any time on it and it's still successful, my ambition is to, everything I've just achieved, do it with owning the properties
Yeah. Yeah.
and then giving it to someone else so I don't have to
To do it.
do it.
Yeah.
So you won't
Makes
hear
sense,
this,
yeah.
but my phone's over there. I've just got 2 bookings through now because the little noise for the bookings are coming
Ka-ching.
through. Ka-ching. Yeah, it's
Ka-ching.
proper cheese. It actually does that. It's really like cringe. But I've just got 2 bookings coming through while I'm sat here. It's all automated.
Fantastic.
So it's worth it.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So how did SA compare to HMOs in this case? Because I mean, do you find that you get quite good margins on HMOs?
Yeah,
with the
I
current
love a
climates,
HMO.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got some rent to rents where the profit's a bit shit.
Yeah.
And then I've got some where it's like $1,300 per HMO on a rent to rent as well. So they're like, I've managed to overprice the rents and people will pay for it because of how I've done the properties and also the customer service. I'm a little bit nicer than some of the landlords. So they'll come to me and I'll look after them. And I specialise in either homeless or overseas nurses. So I've like got both sides of that market there.
Yeah.
With SA, the great thing about SA is you can automate most of it. So if you've got your platforms and your software and you're willing to pay for that privilege of those, most of it's paid for. So if someone has a booking, they will have just got a message to say, thank you for booking with us. Here's some information. There's 5 automated messages per booking. So before booking, just when they've booked, just before they arrive, when they arrive, are you okay? Here's your checkout information. Would you like a direct booking next time? Please leave us a review. So there's like 5 automated messages. People will respond and then we'll send out another automated message. So they'll go, oh, thank you very much for checking up on us. And we're like, cool. Another automated message goes out and they think we're talking to them. It's great. And we're not. That then links with the cleaners. So the cleaners will go in, sort all the cleans out, invoice us at the end of the week. We'll pay for it. So SA is great because you can automate most of it. The only things we do is go in physically monthly and just spot check we're happy with everything, do the fire risk assessments, do the monthly inspections, any testing of any alarms, checking all the doors, making sure we're happy with the decor, take a little paintbrush round, touch up anything if the cleaners haven't already, and just make sure everything's running nicely. So SA compared to HMO is great because you can automate most of it. The only thing I find difficult, and I don't know if it's the same with yourselves, is like the guests are completely different to tenants. Something breaks in a HMO, you can sort of go, maintenance days are on a Friday, we'll sort it out on Friday, calm down. Yeah, SA guests, and this is one of the reasons originally I didn't want to go into it, is because guests can be very entitled and it's a hospitality business.
It is,
I've been used to homeless people that are very grateful for years. Anything slightly wrong in an SA, your whole business can be in jeopardy. So we've had a couple of listings been threatened to be taken down because there was a cobweb and the stairs were too steep. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I got a 1-star review on a house because the stairs were too steep. And my listing was threatened to be taken down, my entire business. And then I've had people, it was my husband's birthday and we went out for dinner with the kids and someone rang us up and went, we just turn up to the property, the cleaner hasn't been, it's a shithole. And I was like, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever in an SA on a Saturday night that you can experience, in my opinion.
And it has to happen when you're out, when you're just about to take that bite.
Yeah, it does. And I was like, oh. And I link issues with memories, and that will forever annoy me because I'll always remember that.
Yeah.
And I got the cleaner there within 20 minutes. She was like, shit, I'm off. Sorted it out in 20 minutes. And I had to give him a full £700 refund. She bought in boxes of chocolates and stuff. I lost out on some money.
Yeah.
Ruined the dinner, and it was shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about SA compared to HMO, is that it's that instant problem that you have to fix regardless.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot more than you expect.
Yes. Yeah. You get a lot of people as well, you know, trying to, I don't know, just pull anything out as much as, you know, just kind of skin you, whatever you get. Yeah. Anyhow, any way they can.
Yeah.
Just to get a free stay.
Yeah. And they don't tell you about that either. We had one this week where woman rocked up 10 o'clock at night. I'm really honest on the listings. 10 o'clock at night, messaged us, where's the freezer? And I was like, there's a little shelf in the fridge. The fridge isn't great, and we say that. We need a better fridge, a big fridge. We've got a little one. It's in the freezer, 10 o'clock at night. I obviously responded in the morning, and she didn't respond back. So I was like, cool, she's found it. She stays for the duration of the stay, and at the end, raises it with booking.com. Bins were overflowing, shithole, flies were in the house, no thingy, hosts were arseholes, proper went to town on it. And again, we get the cleaners to take before and after pictures before they go in. And booking.com rang us up at 11 o'clock at night. Obviously, we was in bed. And fully refunded that guest without even taking any evidence from us. And we've spent a week disputing it. And actually, we've got all the money back because the guest, there was nothing wrong with it. They never communicated with us. They couldn't evidence it. They stayed for the whole duration of the stay.
Yep.
But that little technicality, if we'd not fought that, that's a week's booking we've lost because of a guest. So again, people put lovely things on Facebook like, oh, I've got a 5-star review. Oh, we've had the best. Oh, we've put love hearts on the toilet paper. Oh, and swans on the beds. They never talk about them arseholes that you actually lose loads of money on because of little things like that.
Yes,
so
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably ruined everyone's SA business now. I do apologize.
No. It's this is the real bit
reality,
that happens. Yeah, realities that happens. So yeah.
I mean, I think yes, it is the reality, but I think it's right to say that there's a lot more good people than bad, right? There's a lot more guests that are grateful, that, you know, put up good reviews, you know, than the arseholes that we're talking about. But yes, they are out there. 100%.
Oh, there's loads out there. Again, we got a 5-star review today. We get a lot of 5-star reviews, but then there's also one in the middle that'll give you 1 star and go, horrible host, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look at the rest of the reviews. And then we had an incident this week where we had a real bad guest in a property. Your washing machine's broken. They actually broke it. But the washing machine's broken, and then we couldn't fix the washing machine in time for the next guest.
Heidi, so who's your target market for SAs?
Anyone who will pay me, basically. I'm not lying.
Yeah. So basically, the reason I asked for it was that sometimes we get loads of complaints, but they tend to be the one that fall outside our avatar. You know. Yeah. So let's say, for example, we are like really focused on contractors, business contractors, corporates, and you know, relocations. But as soon as you get leisure guests coming through, that's when the problem happens.
Yeah. Do you know, I've had a mixture from contractors. So where we live, contractors is the main market. We live next to huge worldwide known oil refineries. There's a lot of regeneration in the areas. We used to have a world famous port. So we have a lot of contractors in the area. But the way I design my houses is to hit the contractor market, but also the leisure market on, you know, times where we don't have contractors.
Yes, of course, yep.
So I've got a seaside one, for example, right next to the seaside. That's aimed at contractors, but I've decorated it like a holiday let. I've got waves in it and kids stuff and stuff to hit both markets. But I find that God, I'm going to offend loads of people. Anyone that's over 50 has really like slated some of the areas that they're in because they think they're booking like Lake District and it's on like a real bad estate in Grimsby or a real bad area of Hull, and they've gone, oh, well, your pictures are beautiful, but the area is terrible. I'm like, you don't book a property and you don't look where the house is. Like, it's not my fault the neighbours haven't put the bins in. But yeah, I've got a shit review because the neighbour haven't put the bins in, and people don't look where they're booking. So that's most of our issues, where the houses are stunning that we have, but because it's in a certain area and they don't realise that. That's a little tip, actually, if anyone's running Airbnbs and they don't know this. If a guest wants to cancel their booking because of the area and they tell you that, that's actually against the policy of Airbnb. So actually they can't request a refund because they haven't done their own due diligence. And that took me 3 refunds to realise that.
Wow.
So,
That's really good. Thank you.
Who would do that? Who would book a place without looking at where it is? That's like...
Honestly, it's happened to us about 6 times.
Yep.
About 6 times, because they go, oh, that's a nice picture.
Yep.
And then they go, oh, it's off Newland Ave in Hull. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, it's a student area.
Yep.
It's a bit rough.
Wow. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, so that's a little tip if anyone gets a refund request.
So what's the future looking like for Heidi? What's next? You're obviously already in a good position. You've just left your job. You've got your properties. SA business is good. HMO business is good. Where do we go from here? What's the next
My
world
big
domination?
Oh no, everyone says that. So my big plan was to watch Netflix and paddleboard. That's what I keep telling people. I'm one of them idiots that don't relax, and I say my life is relaxing, but I don't do it. My next plan is to replace everything I've just done with stuff I own. So I'm actually negotiating on a block of flats, buying HMOs, raising finance. And if I achieve that, then I'll probably do something else. My other side hustle is, because I've just come out of the social housing sector, and I promised my team today, and I said, look, I'm going to get you some stock because we need some stock. So one of it is replacing my income again with stuff I own, because I want that stability, because rent to rent is great, but it's not lifelong stable.
Sure. Yep.
It's not legacy stuff.
Yeah, it's not legacy stuff. And I said to my team, I'll get them some stock. So I'm going to try and match investors and landlords to the councils and social housing providers, because we need stock for ex-prisoners. We get them for asylum seekers, we get them for care leavers, we get them for the elderly and learning disability. Nobody will touch the prisoner space, and I'm very passionate about that. So that's my plan as well, to just do that on the side. I watch Netflix and paddleboard.
Amazing.
I guess I can, I don't know anything about the prisoner system, but if I'm honest, I can see why people would, be a little bit unsure about entering into that market, or having those people kind of stay in their properties. It's it's not a nice thing to say or think, but it's just, I guess it's natural. Yeah. People have been in prison. You don't know why. You think they're going to be, aggressive, or, I don't know. I don't know what comes to mind, but I can see that'd be a hard gap to fill. I can understand why it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's difficult, because I've worked with murderers, I've worked with rapists, I've worked with paedophiles, drug addicts. It's the ones that cause the most carnage are the ones that are in prison for the least amount of time for the lower level offences: shoplifting, drug offences, drink driving offences, that sort of chaotic lifestyle, because they haven't got that stability. And that's where we find the most difficulty. So if anyone goes, I'm not housing a sex offender, they're actually some of the best tenants, because they want to keep the head down. They don't want to be known. They're quiet. But with your drug addicts, they do get the benefits. You just need it paying directly to you, and you need that support system there. So there's support out there, there's providers out there, but there's not enough stock, because one of the difficulties is, and I'm working closely with quite a lot of local authorities, is they need to guarantee that rent. They need to guarantee that if it goes tits up, there's some money there to pay for it. So I've helped commission projects within councils that will pay for that, and that's the certainty landlords want. So they're willing to give it a go, and they're willing to get involved and understand it and de-risk it, but the schemes need to be available to pay for any damage, because inevitably there will be at some point. There will be,
yeah, at some point.
Yeah, there will be, yeah, and that's the difficulty. Yeah. So,
but I thought usually when the council takes on, like, say, a property, they would tend to be the one that, you know, kind of put things back to what it was. And
Yeah, this is a bit of a misconception, really, because not many like local authorities have the money or the budget to take on properties anymore. So people, and it really annoys me. I see it in, I'm classed as a national expert at the minute, not tomorrow, but at the minute. And actually people go, oh yeah, the local authorities will take them on and they'll pay you market rent and blah, blah. Not many local authorities have the money to do that now.
Yeah.
Or it'll go to an exempt provider, like, I'm just going to say YMCA because it's well known, but there's Mia's, Serco, loads of charities out there that will take them on as exempt providers. But again, once they max their bed spaces out, there's still demand. So again, there's a lot of other schemes where Hull City Council's got one. I'll give them a shout out for that. But they will house ex-prisoners or ex-homeless into a buy-to-let property, one bed, for example, and pay the rent, and then offer them the support element to go, we will help you retain that property. But it's knowing that and knowing where to sort of look for those. So, and again, to tie this back into serviced accommodation, there is local authorities and other schemes that will look for Airbnbs. But again, it's got to meet their threshold and standard to give you that. And it's got to be in certain areas as well, because some areas they don't want them in. So
no. Yep.
Yeah, we've dabbled with the local councils where I am, and had a few conversations, but their rates just, you know, can't even come close.
They're terrible. The rates are absolutely dismal because they haven't got the money. And I've done a lot of presentations to regional homeless forums and national. I did a national bloody World Homeless Day presentation this week. And again, one of the issues is the rates are not comparable to the general public. And then it's that affordability, and then they'll never get to that level to, you know, supply the housing. So you've got to be a special sort of landlord to take a hit on money to give back. And I think it only really suits people at the minute if they've got like a huge portfolio and they're already very, very successful. What we need it to be is that turnaround of, let's actually supply the properties. We'll profit off it because it's a business, but the council have enough money to do what they need with it with little risk. And that's where there's a massive gap at the minute.
Without getting into too many politics, because that's not what this podcast is about, but what's your feelings on, you know, you're obviously well versed in the homeless sector. I don't know about you, but personally, you know, with the asylum seekers and the whole migrant thing, and, you know, okay, you know, these guys are, you know, fleeing war-torn countries and all the rest of it. I get that. But the fact that they can arrive and immediately be, you know, put in very nice hotels and everybody's found accommodation immediately in some form, I don't understand why that can't be done for all of the, you know, the vets and, you know, the homeless people that are on our streets. I don't see why that hasn't been done.
Literally comes down to government budgets. So if the government want to chuck 2 billion at asylum seekers, they'll find the money. They don't readily want to chuck 2 billion at ex-prisoners or veterans or whatever. And the thing again, which doesn't marry up, is the commissioning services. So for example, I work in criminal justice services. They'll go, here's a £22 million contract. You do that. I'll give you 5 million. I'll give you 2 million. I'll give you 1 million. And then they give us all completely separate KPIs to meet on separate systems that don't talk to each other on separate timelines, and then wonder why it's gone wrong. And it's like, ugh. And this is one of the reasons I've exited the sector, because it's so depressing that I think I've actually achieved more for homeless people practically in 2 years than I have done strategically working in a charity. So there definitely needs some gap. And I think I'm one of the only people who's got the homeless knowledge, the legislation and the investor mindset to match it together.
Yeah, to bridge it all.
And that's kind of where I want to sort of influence people in a way to go, this could work actually. Because I've tried it in a charity space and it didn't work, because every time I spoke about money and business investments and strategy and risk, they've gone, what are you on about? And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I've left, and then I can feel like I can influence investors better than I can the government. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. So yeah, with the asylum seekers, it literally awfully boils down to, what will the government throw money at?
Crazy. Crazy.
It is.
Well,
Very annoying.
it sounds like you have, you've created something where you're, not only obviously doing financially well for yourself, but you're also serving like, a nice
Communities.
you're bringing good to the world. You're solving problems. It sounds like a really good kind of mix. Because, a lot of people out there who aren't in property, they look at us all and think that we're, these greedy, selfish landlords and just out for ourselves. But obviously you're not. You're doing good. Oh, we've lost your audio, Heidi, if you can.
Am I back?
Yeah,
You're back.
yeah.
Cool. I said, try working for shelter as a landlord. Everyone hates me as a landlord. Everyone hates me in shelter because, it's a massive conflict there. So, the thing is as well, I was speaking to my friend this week. Profit is nice. It gives me money to pay for stuff in my life. It doesn't get me out of bed in the morning because I enjoy doing it, which sounds crazy. You've got to get yourself out of bed and motivate yourself. And me trying to not eradicate homelessness, but like support with homelessness gets me out of bed in the morning, keeps me passionate. Trying to see if there's enough towels in SAs don't motivate me to get up.
No.
You've got to have something to get yourself up in the morning.
Yeah. So there's always going to be like a bigger, a bigger vision behind. Is that what you mean? And like to make sure that it's gonna work and gonna keep you going the whole time. And
it'll keep me going. I don't know if you've listened to Daniel Hill's Blueprint Property podcast. If anyone listens to that, he talks about the year of purposeful living or something. If you've come across it, and he designs his year like differently every year, if that makes sense. So he'll do, I think one year he lived on a boat, cut his costs down. One year is, lived very luxuriously. And I think if you have something to motivate yourself every year, whatever that is, keeps you going. There's no way I'm going to be passionate about folding towels into swans for the rest of my life. You've got to have like a bigger picture, haven't you?
Yeah.
I folded plenty of swans, towels into swans in my previous job.
Can you do that? Can you fold a swan?
No, not quite a swan.
I'd like to learn it.
Heart shape, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. It's not the most fulfilling, but you're living proof that serviced accommodation or Airbnb, it can give you freedom, right?
Oh, gotcha.
Whatever you determine that to be, you've chosen it to be more time with your family at home. For other people, it could be the ability to travel, if they've got a systemized business like you have, and still make a good income, right? And work very little. So that's kind of what this is about demonstrating through people like you that it's possible to kind of create this lifestyle by design, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. There's one thing as well that's quite nice is to go to your mates. Do you want to have a free night out in Lincoln? Go on then. And then you use your own Airbnbs to enjoy your life. And then I've given a couple of nights away for charity things as well. So when people go, can anyone donate anything? It's not physically money you're giving away, but it is, if that makes sense. Yes. So again, it's quite nice to sort of give back but enjoy it as well. And
100%.
block that time out.
Yeah. And I think it's cool to kind of break this mindset or this way that we're taught from the minute that we can start taking in information about getting a job, right? Exchanging your time for the money, the whole kind of society thing. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to give up all of the best years of your life in a job, with a hope that once you get to 65, you can actually start to enjoy life. You can do it differently.
That's really important as well. So for anyone getting into it, is I've worked don't speak about this a lot, but I've got a degree, I've got a master's, I've got shitloads of qualifications to be a contract manager. And I've built my entire career up to get to this point. And my mum, for the first time, asked me, said, "Are you going to be all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I fucking will." And she was like, what was your take home a month from work? And I went, I got taxed so badly. My take home was actually only 2,400 a month. And she was like, "Well, that's a lot of money to lose." I went, "I can sell one house for $3,000. That's the reality now, where I can do very minimal work and achieve a lot more quickly. And that's what property gives you. So I've got an abundance of strategies where I can go, what do I want? I want to go on holiday. What do I need? I need to sell 2 deals. Or I need to get one more house to get I've got a transporter now, a Volkswagen. People have gone, oh my God, how have you afforded that? I went, oh, I just got another rent to rent. They're simple, and ran it through my business. So it will give you the life, you got to graft for it. But like, I couldn't have afforded a transporter staying in my job as a contract manager. Or going on holiday. So yeah, it's definitely gives you them tools.
But I think Heidi, you just point something like so important out, because like, say for example, you wanted that transporter, but then you just said you went to get another rent to rent, which is like, to you is an asset that creates money.
Yeah.
But you know, most people wouldn't think of that. They would think of, oh, I think I'm going to borrow some more, you know, take a loan out, remortgage to take the money to do something like that. But you know, so
exactly. And I got myself promoted to the highest possible position I could get to, and still couldn't get one. So I was like, oh, what can I do to get the life I want? Property. I don't enjoy property. I don't like go, oh, I bloody love towels and that.
It's just the benefits that it brings. So
yeah, definitely, it's well worth it.
Yeah, it's scalable, right? You can determine and decide your own income. And how much work you want to do, or how little you want to do, you know, to suit your lifestyle, whatever that may be.
Yeah,
it's completely customizable. Very
brilliant.
Cool. So look, as we kind of wrap up and come up to the hour mark, I wanted to ask you a question, Heidi, if you don't mind, for the people listening at home who are maybe just beginning their journey. If you could take yourself back to when you was beginning, obviously you've done very well. Seems like you've done most things right from the get-go, but there must have been some mistakes that you made, right? So if you could go back to the beginning, you're just thinking about getting into property, you're thinking about which strategy to do. What would you do different? Have you got any kind of big regrets about the way you did things, and what would you do different to kind of make where you are now, or got to where you are now quicker, or to have grown something bigger in the period of time that you've been in property?
This is controversial because I've taken on deals that were terrible and they're still terrible, but I still don't regret taking them on because I learned so much. So every negative, I see it as a positive and a learning curve. So any mistakes I've made, I've kind of gone, nah, I've learned something from that. What I'd say to anybody who's absolutely brand new, pick one strategy and perfect it. For the first 6 months, I proper messed about. I went on viewings for houses I didn't want to buy. I was looking at blocks of flats that I had no possibility of buying, loads of stupid things. If you're going to do SA and graft and graft and graft. And you're going to get no's and you're going to get people go, who are you? You've just started out, whatever. Really graft, really network, really do your social. I don't like social media. You wouldn't think that, would you? But I'm always on it, and
You're everywhere. What are you talking about?
I'm everywhere. I'm so annoying. I'm everywhere, but I hate doing it. But you wouldn't know that because I'm consistent. So my biggest tip to anyone is just bloody be consistent. Yes, you're gonna have shit days every day, but be consistent. Do one strategy till successful, really, whatever that is, and ask for help. Don't be precious. If you feel a twat, just ask for help, because I had someone say, don't take that deal on, and I did, regretted it. And then I've had people go, have you stacked that properly? What about that? Just ask everybody for help all the time, and you'll just grow and get better.
Awesome advice. Amazing. Well, Heidi, I mean, just obviously just met you now on this podcast. I've obviously seen you around, but just getting to know you now, and it's so clear that you are, pretty amazing and friggin' nuts.
Driven,
it's very clear that you're going to achieve big things, and very, very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us and everybody at home. And how can everybody find you? I'm sure people are going to want to get in touch. What's the best way of getting in touch with you?
I'm underground. My best, probably Heidi Louise on Facebook. You'll find me. I'm Gobby. That's my main one. I have WhatsApp. If anyone wants to WhatsApp me, just message me on Facebook. I am going to be on LinkedIn, but I'm LinkedIn as a charity worker at the minute. So Heidi Louise on Facebook.
Yeah, very cool. We'll put all that information in the show notes.
Yep.
So I think that kind of wraps it up. So thank you so much, Heidi Louise, for coming on the podcast. And thank you for everybody listening at home. And we'll see you again next week with another fantastic guest.